My name is Hugh. I'm 73. Although if you look at your reflection in the mirror, you can easily give more. The eyes that once shone with confidence are now hidden in the shadow of sagging eyelids. The skin on my arms, once scorched by the sun of great victories, has lost its strength. My voice has become quiet, and it seems that even the air in the room is more accustomed to silence than to words. I live in a house where every board remembers my youth. Now it's no longer a dwelling, but the scenery of a forgotten play. Partners, family, friends used to come here. Now it's just dust. But I clean. I love order. Even neglect should have meaning. My children are successful, wealthy. They live in the glass clouds of their offices, fly business class, quote Qualo and post photos of a successful morning with a cup of latte. They remember me on holidays. And then through messages. My granddaughter used to call me her hero. Now she says, "Oh, Grandpa's asking about Wi-Fi again," and rolls her eyes. My grandson laughs when I can't find an app on my phone. Their world is without me. I'm a decoration, an old TV in the corner that hasn't been thrown out of pity yet. A store. I'm invisible there. The saleswoman serves the young man who came in after me twice. When I ask for small bills, they don't hear me. At the bus stop, people turn away. In the hospital, the doctor says, "You've been here before, what do you want again?" I don't cry. I don't beg. I just go. A woven blanket, tea without sugar, a TV without sound, and silence. Daily silence. My schedule doesn't change. In the morning, I put on a suit, even though no one else will come. I still shave. The old reflex is to be ready for battle. A diary on the table. A small one. I used to write business plans there. Now, records of days, faces, events. Some will say, delusions. No. This is a chronicle of disappearance. Because the scariest thing is not loneliness. The scariest thing is when you are no longer seen. But there is still something inside. My grandfather once said, "As long as the fire burns inside, you are still in the game." Sometimes I feel this heat. Especially at night. Especially when I remember who I was. How I held the skin of those who threatened my family. How I built an empire from nothing. How traitors hid their eyes because they knew, I do not forgive. They wrote me off. They soaked me in time. They put me in a corner like a useless person. But there is one thing that they all forgot. I do not forget. And I do not forgive. And I still know how to wait. I wasn't always a shadow. I used to cast it on others myself. I remember 1993. I stood on the broken glass of an office that seemed like a fortress just yesterday. My partner betrayed me. He took everything out, bills, clients, people. And I was left with debts, shock, and 2 small children at home. The neighbors whispered, "That's it, the end." And I silently took out loans with interest that even bandits were afraid of. And I paid them back. Penny by penny. Every move I made back then was like a sword strike. Direct, precise, painful. There was no room for weakness. I was respected, not loved. But they listened. I could walk into any office and the door wouldn't be closed. I didn't threaten. I just spoke, and that was enough. There was a day when I sold my first car to pay for my son's education. He didn't even thank me then. And he didn't have to. I didn't do it for thank yous. I was building a foundation. For them. For my family. I considered myself a knight without armor, only with honor. A strategist who could see 10 moves ahead. I had power. Not the kind in my fists. The kind in my gaze. My word could lift a person from the bottom or bury a reputation. I built trust the way others build money, slowly, but forever. And now I'm alone. The phone is silent. Old partners are long dead, or live as if they never knew me. Children are eternally busy. I only needed 1 minute to say that I'm still here. But they don't have time for minutes. I wonder what would happen if I disappeared. Not dead, just disappeared, dissolved. How long would it take for them to notice? I thought for a long time whether I should regret it. But no. I don't regret it. I gave them everything. And that makes my resentment even stronger. Because I remember who I was. And I remember how easily they forgot that. They don't know that a lion lying in the dust is still a lion. Just waiting. Real pain isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It drips. Drop by drop, every day, in the same place. Today I called my son. For the third time in a month. Although I promised myself not to call again. I just wanted to say that I found an old photo album, the one where we were all at sea, in 1999. Beeps. 125. And a voice. The subscriber cannot take the call. An hour later I saw a photo on social networks. He is on a yacht. The caption. Work hard, relax harder. Under the photo smileys, hearts, applause. And I am sitting in an old armchair, with a phone in my hand. The silence is like a slap. My granddaughter came last week. I tried to set up Wi-Fi for her, but I got confused with the buttons. She laughed. Grandpa, you are a dinosaur. And she turned to the screen. I didn't say anything. I just remembered how I drove her to school, how I held her hand when she had an asthma attack, how I stayed up all night when she had a fever. And yesterday, I dropped a package near the pharmacy. People were walking by. One stepped on an apple. I asked for help. They pretended not to hear. It was as if I wasn't there. At home, I opened my diary. I wrote down the date, time, place, the salesperson's phrase, which was particularly bitter. God, what to do with him? Will someone take the old man or not? I'm not offended. No. It's not an insult. It's data. It's points. It's diagnostics. I've always known how to listen to what's between the words. And now I hear more than they think. I watch. I analyze. I build a map. Everything that seems random to them is a pattern to me. They think I'm weak. That I have no dignity or influence left in me. But they don't see what's growing in me. What lies between whispers and silence. Resentment is like water behind a dam. Silent. Strong. Inevitable. And one day it will break through. It happened on Thursday. The sky was low, heavy, as if the world itself wanted to squeeze me between the clouds and the asphalt. I was returning from the pharmacy. I had packages in my hands. A small purchase, blood pressure pills, a pack of tea soap. And even that was heavy. I was pushed. Not hard. Just by accident. But enough to make me lose my balance. I fell. The packages flew apart. The pills rolled into a puddle. The tea burst, the leaves, like sand, on the asphalt. I lay there and heard laughter all around me. Look at him! Someone shouted. Nobody needs him. Those words didn't hit my body. They hit deeper. I didn't cry. I didn't ask. I just lay there. And then something clicked. Not anger. No. It was understanding. A sudden, piercing silence inside. Like when in chess you see that your opponent has just made a wrong move, and doesn't yet understand that he's lost. I got up. Silently. I came home. I took off my jacket. I took a towel. I wiped my hands. I sat down. My gaze fell on the old closet. It had been locked for about 10 years. I opened it. At the bottom was dust. And under the dust was a safe. I entered the code. My fingers remembered. I remembered too. The memory of the old is like a button that holds a coat, invisible, but without it everything falls apart. Among the old documents was the same phone. Without a sensor, without the internet. With a list of numbers that cannot be found on Google. Among them was a name that made my skin crawl. Crass is a duty. Once I saved his life. Now he owes me. A notebook. A notebook where every sheet is an event. An insult. A surname. A date. On every page, seemingly little things. But they make up the path of the fall. I am not looking for a scream. I do not want to fight. I have always been a strategist. And this game is my field. I have seen empires collapse. How proud families melt away when one element is missing. And I know which one. They have forgotten who I was. And who I can become again. It is time to remind them. The chessboard is ready. The pieces are in place. I make the first move. I'm not a scream. I'm an echo. I'm not a blow. I'm the hand that guides it. They still think that everything is under control. They are sure that grandfather simply disappeared. The phones are silent, the doors no longer creak. But the movement has already begun. The first was my son. His company is a perfect facade: PR, ethics, social initiatives. But I remembered how it all began. And who closed the debts at the start. I remembered those friendly services that are not recorded in the reports. I didn't call him. I sent the documents anonymously. To the regulatory body. To a journalist who hates hypocrites. And to another, old acquaintance. The result, the headline. The son of a moral business is the dirty capital of family lies. He was fired. Scandal. Lost position. Reputation cracked like glass under a shoe. Then a grandson. A social media star. A contract with an international agency. Smile, biceps, quotes from Qualo. But nothing disappears on the internet. Especially what was on his phone 5 years ago. I knew the password. He once told me it himself. Dido 2020. Naivety is also a legacy. Screenshots. Videos. Drunk jokes about old impotents who need to be put to sleep. Dropped anonymously to a brand partner. The contract is terminated. His name no longer shines in any press release. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is that they didn't know who. There's a crack in their eyes. Distrust. To each other. To themselves. And every day this crack widens. I don't kill. I open it. They themselves look in the mirror and see, behind the skin of success is rot. And this is my sharpest weapon. I'm no longer a grandfather. I'm a ghost. The architect of an invisible collapse. The house is tense. The phones are ringing again. First once a week. Then every day. Then several times a day. I don't answer. They come. They stand at the door. Knock. Silence. My silence is their loudest rebuke. They all gathered together. Not because of a holiday, not because of tradition, out of fear. You could tell by their movements. By the way the son rubbed his fingers together, as if he wanted to wipe away invisible dirt. By the way the grandson stood slumped, without his false pathos. By the way the granddaughter didn't look at her phone for the first time. I was sitting in a chair. In my place. Where I had been invisible to them for the past decade. Now they were sitting opposite. As if in front of an icon that is remembered only in times of trouble. The son spoke first. His voice trembled. Dad? We want. The words didn't come together. I looked at him, but not as a father. Like a judge who knows the verdict even before the accused opens his mouth. The grandson sat silently, his head down. There was more remorse in his posture than in any confession. Perhaps for the first time he realized that life is not just the gym and swearing. The granddaughter looked up. And that was enough. Her voice betrayed her. We didn't want to. No one thanked me. No one apologized directly. But they didn't have to. People rarely tell the truth with words. She lives in looks, in gestures, in the shadow of fear of what they've lost, and could lose forever. I didn't say a word. Because sometimes silence is the loudest thing you can answer. They sat for a long time. They waited for a sentence that would never be pronounced. Because my revenge is already accomplished. And it's not about destruction. It's about memory. That there's still a backbone that held their lives together. And if they ever forget that, they'll fall again. When they left, I took the diary. The last blank page. I wrote briefly, not to punish. So that they can see. Old age is not the end. It's a height from which everything can be seen. I closed the diary. The fire inside no longer burned, it shone. Calmly. Evenly. Inevitably.
Subscribe and like this video, more interesting revenge stories of elderly people coming soon.